Every evening at exactly 7 p.m., Harold sat on his porch in rural Jamaica and called his sister. Every evening at exactly 7:01 p.m., the crickets launched what sounded like a championship concert. "Hello, Sandra," Harold shouted into his phone. Chirp, chirp, chirp. "What?" Sandra replied. "I said hello." Chirp, 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 chirp. "You need yellow." "No, hello. Jello." Harold looked suspiciously at the bushes. The crickets seemed unusually organized. The next night, he moved to the backyard. "Hello, Sandra." For 2 peaceful seconds, there was silence. Then, chirp. It was louder than before. "Why are you whispering?" Sandra asked. "I'm not whispering. The crickets are attacking my phone call." "The tickets are attacking your phone bill?" Harold sighed. After a week of this, he became convinced the crickets were doing it on purpose. One evening he marched up to the hedge and pointed a finger. "Listen here. I have important conversations." The crickets stopped. Harold smiled triumphantly. Then a single cricket chirped. Another answered. A third joined in. Within seconds, the entire neighborhood erupted into the loudest cricket chorus Harold had ever heard. It sounded less like insects and more like a committee voting against him. The following day, Harold bought noise-canceling headphones. That evening he called Sandra again. "Can you hear me now?" he asked confidently. "Perfectly," she replied. Harold grinned. Suddenly Sandra said, "Wait. What's that noise in the background?" Harold removed one headphone. The crickets were completely silent. Then, from somewhere very close, he heard chirp. A cricket was sitting directly on his phone. Chirp. Another was perched on his shoulder. Chirp. A third was on the porch railing. Sandra laughed. "It sounds like they're having a meeting." Harold narrowed his eyes. "I think they are." The next evening, he called earlier. The crickets started earlier. He called later. They stayed up later. He tried calling from his car. Crickets appeared in the parking lot. He drove to a shopping center 20 minutes away. A lone cricket chirped from a flower pot beside the entrance. At this point, Harold accepted defeat. The next time Sandra called, he simply put the phone near the bushes. Immediately, the crickets began their usual performance. Sandra listened for a minute and said, "You know, they're actually pretty good." "What?" "They have rhythm." One cricket delivered a long chirp. The others responded in perfect timing. Sandra started clapping along. Soon Harold was tapping his foot. A neighbor wandered over with a drum. Another brought a guitar. By the end of the week, half the neighborhood was gathering nightly for what they called the cricket concert. The insects became local celebrities. People recorded videos. Visitors came to listen. Someone even made T-shirts that read, "Official audience member of the 7 p.m. Cricket Orchestra." One evening Sandra called and asked, "How are the crickets?" Harold smiled. "They're doing fine." Then he held up the phone toward the bushes. The chorus began. Sandra cheered. And for the first time in months, nobody had to shout. The crickets had become the entire conversation. And that's where today's story comes to an end. If you enjoyed listening, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comment below. Until next time, take care of yourselves and keep chasing good stories. Bye for now.